Hey, moneymakers, welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. It is my pleasure to be here with you today, yet another live episode. I appreciate your presence wherever you're joining us from. So, what are we talking about this evening? Well, it's the Caribbean's Airbnb for cars, or if you've heard of Turo, well, we now have our very own version called Veekle. It's a peer-to-peer car sharing platform, and they're offering a unique twist to the concept of car sharing, and it's sparking curiosity. We're going to hear all about it later on in the show. But first, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and tell a friend that Taking Stock is on and live. We're on and popping. And of course, let me know in the chat what part of the country and what part of the world you're joining us from. Now, come on, let's get this money.
On this episode of Taking Stock, it's like Airbnb, but for cars. Veekle is the Caribbean's first car-sharing platform. But how does it work, and how does the company plan to grow? Founder Cherie Williams joins us live to discuss. And the analyst weighs in on the latest market developments. We discuss the PIOJ's growth estimates for the January to March quarter. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart. Stocks and Securities Limited is now free to begin its winding up process following the latest court ruling. The Supreme Court last week ruled that the Financial Services Commission's temporary management of SSL through Kenneth Tomlinson must end immediately. The FSC was ordered to turn over control to licensed trustee Cadian Campbell. The court also gave Campbell permission to wind up SSL under a court-supervised process. The court must also approve any criminal case against SSL. Grace Kennedy Group CEO Don Webby says plans are still on track to list GK Foods on an international stock exchange. Webby said the group is in discussions with Citibank in the US. He said, however, that GK Foods would need to expand to be investable. He added that the company is exploring acquisitions in North America and the United Kingdom. April's tax revenue surpassed the finance minister's expectation, but wasn't enough to close the almost $25 billion shortfall recorded in March. The government collected over $65 billion in taxes in April, $3.5 billion more than originally budgeted. However, only $1.9 billion was paid out by corporations last month. The government had previously said that a $14 billion shortage in corporate income tax from March was the main contributor to the overall deficit. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said Tax Administration Jamaica will continue to pursue those entities that still have not filed their taxes. Several retailers in the U.S. have announced massive price cuts as the summer season starts. Pharmacy chain Walgreens announced price cuts on over 1,000 items, while Amazon slashed prices on 4,000 grocery items. Target and Walmart have also announced lower prices. Many retailers hiked prices in the past 2 years as inflation spiked. But consumers have been spending less because things are too expensive. So retailers are decreasing prices to entice spending. What's Hot was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Butterfly in the sky. What? I can go twice as high.
So if this is you, download my free e-guide right now, Financial Terms Made Simple. It's a list of 40 commonly used financial terms broken down into simple language. Because don't you just hate when you look up a word and it gives you an even bigger word as a definition? So this is not that. I've made it as easy as possible so you can just whip it out and use it as a quick reference when you hear a term that you don't really understand. That way you don't miss investment opportunities because you were too embarrassed to ask what a bond is or what an IPO is. The link is... All right, welcome back to Taking Stock. Let me see who we have joining us right now. We have Finessing Finances. Greetings, massive. reminding people to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much, Finessing Finance. Nana Sense watching from far, far away as usual. Dwight Jackson from Spanish Town. We have, let me see, Diplomat says, let's get this money. We appreciate you. Financial literacy is the key to greater happiness. Thanks for how informative your platform is. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for tuning in, especially live, Diplomat. Antoinette says good night, and she's joining us from Arizona as usual. And she said Arizona is just as hot as the Moneymaker session. That is very hot indeed, Antoinette. We got Deshaun joining us from Negril. We got Dee Dee joining from Goshen, St. Elizabeth. We got Humble Boss checking in from Negril as well. Who else we have? Let me see. Kemoy is joining us all the way from Brooklyn. Kish is in London. Earl is in Helsha. Philip is in Turks and Caicos. And of course, we have Kingston checking in as usual. Jermaine there in Atlanta. So let's get this show started. Let's get the show on the road because we have a brand new app to tell you all about. There's a company called Veekle. I love the spelling, Veekle. Been hearing about this company for a while now. If you go on like the entrepreneur circuit, the tech circuit, you would have been familiar with Veekle and their founder, and they've been making the rounds, trying to raise capital. They've finally launched. If anyone is familiar with an app called Turo in the US, it is an app where you are able to put your car up for rent and rent cars at reasonable rates. It's just like the Airbnb, but for cars. Well, that's what Veekle is, but for our region, for the Caribbean. So they're looking to shake things up in the car rental space. And tonight we're going to dive into how the mechanics of this app are going to work, how this startup plans to shake up the local scene. Because as you know, here, it is very expensive to rent a car. How is Veekle going to make a difference? So joining us this evening is CEO and founder of Veekle, Cherie Williams. Welcome to Taking Stock, Cherie.
Hi, Kalila. How are you? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am good, but not as good as you. I'm so proud of what you've done. The journey that you've been on. I've been following you on LinkedIn. I've been seeing you making the rounds. I see the work that you put in. So congratulations on finally launching Veekle.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to reach this far.
How long has this been in the idea phase, in the concept phase?
So I actually had this idea back in 2019. So just to jump right in, right? So I grew up in the inner city, and I've always saw the need of our people. And so when I migrated after finishing high school, I always promised that, I'm always going to support the locals no matter what. This is where my money is going. And so one of the ways in which I would do so is by renting cars, right? So every time I would come home, I would have to text multiple people asking them if they know of anyone who rents cars. And majority of the time, you basically just take what you get, right? You don't complain. You just take what you get. And I'm not always happy with what I get. And so either way, I still continue to do so. But this one particular year, I couldn't find a local. And so I ended up having to rent from the airport. And it was my worst travel experience, having to wait about 3 hours just to rent a car with kids. It just wasn't pleasant. And so that's when I thought to myself, no, man, there must be a better way to rent from locals, cars that you like in a safe space. And so that's how Veekle was birthed.
Tell us a little bit about you. Is this your first time bringing an idea to fruition? Like how did you get started as an entrepreneur?
No. So after leaving high school, like I mentioned, I migrated to the US and finished up my academic studies. So there I got a bachelor's in accounting, I got an MBA in finance, and I'm also a certified public accountant. And then I worked about 2 decades in corporate America in various different industries, but I always wanted to be my own boss, as most girls want to, right? And so that's when I dived in and started my own company called Firm 1040. So it's a tax and accounting company in the US. And so that's how I initially started in entrepreneurship. I started from the bare bones, right? 6 clients in my basement, and now we have grown significantly. So that company gave me my first true entrepreneurial experience that now is able to lead over into vehicle.
Okay, and what has it been like for you so far, like bringing this idea, bringing this baby to life? Like how difficult or easy has it been?
It has been a very long journey. It has been difficult. Some of the challenges that we faced early on involved insurance. So for me, I wanted our platform to be built on trust, right? And so from the get-go, I said, we need to get insurance companies on board with the idea that I have. But that has been quite a struggle for me. It took about, I would say, 3 years for us to get an insurance product from an insurance company that we could partner with, and we felt secure with this company. And so yeah, it's been quite a struggle on insurance. It's also been quite a struggle raising capital for the company. So everything so far has been self-funded. We did, however, when we won an Ignite grant from DBJ via Tech Beach Retreat. So kudos to DBJ and those initiatives that they have going on.
I
But
remember
so
your pitch
far,
at Tech Beach. That's when I first heard about you.
yeah. It's been a while, right? It's been a while. I've been, like you said, I've been making the rounds and raising brand awareness about Veekle. It's a company that I truly believe in. I believe that we can become that Caribbean brand or the next thing in the Caribbean, and hopefully take it beyond that as well.
Right. So tell us so you mentioned insurance. In fact, before we get to insurance, let me not get ahead of myself. How does the app work?
So the app, if anyone is familiar with Airbnb, so you sign up on the platform and every user has to be verified. So we're checking IDs and we're also doing facial recognition as well. So once you get past that stage, then it's, verifying your email, your phone number, uploading a photo of yourself, and then you can either list or travel, right? So rent. Travelers have a much easier process. Once they are verified, they can easily rent a car. But for car owners, the listing process is quite a bit intense. So you need to have all your documents together. So insurance, fitness, registration, all vehicles must have a tracking device. You must do a valuation, which in turn comes with an inspection. And then also you're uploading the various documents as well as entering all the various details about the car, how many doors, how many seats, all the specifics of the vehicle. You're entering all that information. So we let the car owners be in control of their listing. So they're, giving their own pricing. They are putting the location. Locations are predetermined by vehicle, so no one is going to anyone's house. And then you can, set your availability, whether or not you have a custodian, if there's someone else that you want to manage the vehicle for you. So all of that information, we allow travelers to have control of that.
Okay, so there's a handover process, I imagine. You said it's not at your house, you find a location. How do you determine that?
So right now we have chosen Total Gas Station for handovers. However, if two parties feel comfortable enough to choose another location, then it's on them to do that. But we suggest that people stick with the locations that are on the platform. Car owners also do have the option to deliver to the airport. So if they want to choose the Kingston Airport for delivery, they can choose that, or they can choose it as their main location for pickup as well.
For an extra fee, of course.
They can do it for an extra fee or they can do it for free. So they have the option to also choose that.
Yeah, because if you do this as a business, there are people who do this. I know for Tura, there are people who that is their business. They own multiple cars and you might be stationed at the airport or at a convenient location.
Exactly.
So very interesting. Now walk us through how we as the renter get paid.
As the car owner? So
as the car owner, yes.
Yeah. So once the vehicle has been booked by the traveler, say for instance, it's happening in a few months, right? We don't hand over the funds until the actual transaction has taken place. So 24 hours after the handover happens, that's when we initiate funds to be deposited into your bank account.
So everything is done electronically.
Everything is done electronically. There's no cash. It's cashless. Everything is electronic.
So tell us now how the insurance portion works, because when I've been abroad, I rented a vehicle before. They catch you, because they said the cost of the vehicle to rent is fairly cheap, but then they kill you with the insurance. So how does it work here?
Yes. So it's a little different in terms of insurance. So the car owner, they would have to switch over to our insurance provider, which is ICII, and we're using Fraser Fontaine and Kong as our broker. So you would have to switch your primary insurance over to our partner insurance. However, they are sweetening the pot a little bit. So you won't pay more than you're currently paying. So it either be less or they'll match what you're currently paying. One of the good things also is that they will be also agreeing to, I believe, your renewal date. So if your renewal is coming up in 6 months, then you'll only pay for 6 months to come on board with us. They won't charge you for an annual premium until your renewal date. So I think the insurance, and I've gone through the process with them, I think it's fair, and I think people will love this.
So the insurance will apply to anybody who rents the vehicle, or does the person who is renting have to buy their own insurance?
No. So once the car owner signs up for the insurance, the way it works, especially on the rental side of it, is it goes by the valuation of the car, right? So it's I think 3 bands. So it's 1 to 3, 1 to 3 million, 3 to 6 million, and then 6 to 10 million. So depending on which band your vehicle values in, you'll either pay as the car owner $10, $15, or $20 per day. On the person that's traveling, they'll also be paying that amount as well. And I'm talking about comprehensive insurance. So there'll be 2 types, but this in general is for comprehensive. Third party would be much, much cheaper. But
So it will be an additional fee on top of the rental fee.
It would be an additional fee on top of the rental fee. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds cool so far. What do you do about things like traffic tickets, though? Suppose the person who rents gets a ticket and they don't tell the owner that they got a ticket.
Yeah, that part is going to be a little bit difficult right now to manage. And so what I've been doing on my part is speaking to all the people who are onboarding, just to set expectations and things like that. But I think overall, once the platform starts to grow and mature, we will have more automated, tracking and automated payments and charges and those things. But I think to start, we will have some issues. We may have some issues with being able to manage that, but hopefully people are sensitive enough to understand that, this is not your car and someone else has to take care of this. And I would want to say that because we are building a community, and the fact that people are going to be able to rate, each other, right? Hopefully it will deter any type of malicious activities like that. So
Yes, rating each other should help, but I want to give you a suggestion, which is something that happened to me recently when I rented a car abroad, is that they put a hold on your card. I don't know if that's something that you can.
We're not at that stage as yet, Kalila, but hopefully if an investor is watching, we are still looking for funding that would help us to build out certain things for our platform so that we can make it much safer for everyone who's coming on board.
Yeah, so that you're able to put a hold on the person's credit card or whatever card that they use to sign up for the service for, let's say, 2 weeks. And then within that 2-week period, you can check the system if any tickets were registered to your license, and then release the hold at the end of the 2 weeks or whatever period is decided upon. So I hope the money comes in for you to be able to put in that technology.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
So there is some controversy breaking this evening out of Parliament. I don't know if you heard about what Minister Darrell Vaz announced today, the Minister of Transport, some breaking news about ride-sharing apps. Does Veekle count as a ride-sharing app? Would you fall under that band?
No, so we wouldn't fall under the ride-sharing app. So Veekle is a car-sharing platform, which is completely different from ride-sharing. So ride-sharing apps are like Uber, InDrive, any car that where the driver or the owner of the car is occupying the vehicle while someone else is in the vehicle. So that's different from our platform. So it's a rental system. The car owner is not in the car while the traveler who rents the car is driving it. And so we're completely different from a ride sharing app. We're specifically car sharing.
All right, so the ban announced today wouldn't apply to you.
No.
And for those who haven't heard the news just yet, 'cause I just heard it this evening, just minutes before the show, the Transport Minister Daryl Vaz has announced a ban on ride-sharing apps in Jamaica. He says that they've been trying to get them to comply with certain regulations, and only one so far has complied, and that one is Uber. But in this case, the good suffer for the bad, and so they have to ban all of them for initially a period of 1 year while they try to sort certain things out. We'll probably be looking further into this later on this week, probably on next week's Taking Stock or in the bottom line. For sure, we have to cover it and see what is going on with this industry. I recall when Uber launched in Jamaica, there were a lot of issues with it. We featured it here. We did a story about it here. We spoke about it extensively. There were concerns about it. Now they're saying Uber is the one complying and the others aren't. So we have InDrive, 876 on the go, I think it's called. And the approach that they've taken is by banning them on the platform. So they've written to Cable and Wireless and Digicel, and they will not be allowed to facilitate access to these apps. So you will not be able, if you have the app already, you won't be able to use it because they are essentially banned. And more on this coming up later. But I'm happy to hear, Cherie, that this does not apply to you and your brand new app, Veekle. So tell us about cost. Like, how much is it going to cost to rent under Veekle? I know you have different prices depending on the car, but do you have a range?
So car owners are in control of their listing, but I would say probably a range would be anywhere, it would be competitive, right? And so depending on the type of car, it may go from $40 to, it could even go to over $100 depending on the type of car, right? Because for our platform, we'll have a variety. So, BMW, Benz, Audi, you name it, those types of cars can be rented on our platform, right? So it'll depend on the type of vehicle. But in terms of commission, Veekle takes 10% from car owners as well as 10% from the traveler. However, when we become operational in July, we're hoping for July to get everyone onboarded, we're offering 100% earning opportunity for all our car owners for a period of 3 months. So if anyone is interested in getting your vehicle on the platform to make some money this summer, definitely jump on board. It'll be a 3-month period where we're offering 100% commission for you guys.
Okay, so you're not operational yet.
We are, so we're not operational in terms of renting cars. So right now we're going through the vetting process. So we have probably over 150 people who have already signed up. We also have people on our wait list. And so we are trying our best to vet everyone as the car owners. So we're, going through the documents, making sure that they have the proper insurance. So we're doing all of that first, and then we will just publish all the vehicles on the platform for renting opportunities.
Okay, so right now it's just for vehicle owners to get onboarded to the platform.
Yes.
So if you have a vehicle, if I have a vehicle and I want to list it on Veekle, what's the process?
So you will sign up to the platform. So you can go to the Veekle app on iOS. We'll be on Android by the end of the month, or you can join us on the web, veekle.com. So once you get to the platform, you'll sign up. It's fairly easy to sign up. You have to be between the ages of 23 and 75 to be on our platform. So once you sign up, you will go through the verification process, verifying your ID, doing facial recognition. We have to make sure that you are who you say you are. And then you go through the verification process with your email, your phone, and also ensuring that you upload a really good photo of yourself. After that, then you go through the listing process. So you won't be able to create a listing until you've verified your ID. So it won't let you move forward. So you'll then create a listing, which I had alluded to before, where you'll be able to enter all the specific details of your car, give it a nice title, a good description, the location, whether you're going to offer delivery services, your pricing, do you have weekend pricing, do you have early bird pricing? So there's a lot of things that you can add to your listing to make it that much more interesting and a complete listing, right? So people can really get a full sense of the type of vehicle that they're going to be renting.
Yeah, we have quite a few questions coming in online, so let's see what the audience wants to know. Cherie? Let's see. Okay, King Irie wants to know, will you be doing an IPO?
Not this year. Not this year, but it's something to think about, but not this year.
Okay, well, from the fact that you said not this year, sounds like you would consider it at some point in the future.
At some point in the future, absolutely.
All right, Romario wants to know, for the person renting, if your credit card usually covers collision damage waiver, do you still have to pay the insurance to rent the car?
Yes, you still have to pay the insurance to rent the car. And that's just the partnership that we have with our insurance partner. That's how it'll work for now. Insurance, credit cards wouldn't cover us on a peer-to-peer platform here in the Caribbean. I think that's mostly for traditional car rental services. But you never know, as Veekle becomes that global brand, there are different things and different opportunities that will come up, such as the one that you mentioned, that will make it easier on travelers to be able to rent cars without having to dish out those extra funds.
All right, we have a few suggestions on the ticket issue. So Vibes says, I can submit a ticket on Turo. And then King says, ticket issue is easy to fix. You can connect the app to the JCF tax office system so the owner knows every time a ticket is issued to the license plate.
Interesting. Thank you for that. I did not know that. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Khalil, I just want to set something straight here. So I don't want people to compare a startup to an established company that is $1 billion company. We're still in the early phases of the company, and I feel really awesome as far as where we're at right now, having that this is still being somewhat self-funded. So more to come. I do want to plug something later on. If you don't have any more questions, I'll plug something at the end.
Okay. Maurice says, will there be roadside assistance in the package?
Yes. So there is 24/7 roadside assistance for all our travelers. Yep. That's in the package.
Wonderful. Next question comes from King Irie, who wants to know, why isn't the payment transferred right when the traveler makes the payment?
For the simple fact that the car owner may not feel the need to deliver the car, right? So we can't pay the car owner if the delivery of the vehicle has not happened.
Okay, yeah, and that's what Vibe's saying, because sometimes people will cancel a trip.
Exactly.
All right, makes sense. I don't see any other question. Let me just check again, because some might have just come in. A lot of people were asking about the new ban that Minister Vaz just announced. Kemoy says, I love that they're taking the time needed to vet the car owners, and he wants to know what precautions are taken to vet the safety of the cars on the platform.
So all the cars must have a valuation done within the last 3 months, right? So that would be probably a couple months ago, February, March, around that time frame. So all cars have to have a valuation, and all cars have to be inspected within a 6 to 9 month time frame. So each 6 to 9 months, you have to re-upload that information so that we can ensure that the cars are still, meeting the safety standards for travelers, and to ensure that our platform still provides that community of trust and things that we're trying to build. So yeah, that's what we're doing for that.
Angelise wants to know, will renters know who I am as an owner?
Yes, they will know who you are. You do have a bio that you can also put on the platform as well. So they'll know who you are. They'll actually know how many cars, how many trips your car has taken and the reviews for that. So they'll have a full view of your reputation as a car owner on the platform.
I'm seeing some questions coming in as well that we've already answered. So guys, if you joined late, just go back and watch the interview from the beginning after the show is done. Next question comes from Natoya. Does it have to be a specific year-old vehicle?
Yes, so vehicles can be more than 10 years old.
All right. OG
And
says
they're-
solid business opportunity. Awesome. And what?
Oh, I was just going to also mention that there's a few types of cars that will not be accepted on the platform. So there's, like the Toyota Axial, Probox. There's a few of them, and you can find out more about those cars on our help center, which I'll let you know more about.
Why don't you accept Probox?
So cars that are high theft or involved in criminal activities, this is insurance companies' requirements, by the way.
Criminal activities. So no Mark X. I didn't just say that.
But I think they mentioned that Toyota Axios are usually involved in theft, and Probox. I decided not to do Probox just because we're trying to create a certain type of platform for travelers. So yeah, that's a few cars. Not a lot though. Maybe a handful
certain
of
prestige. Sometimes people are looking for a cheap car though. Usually when I travel, I just want something inexpensive that I can get around in.
Yeah.
So, but I guess, yeah, you'll have different price points. I saw a question that I really want to ask. Where is it? So many questions coming in. Guys, go back and watch from the beginning. Somebody, I can't find it. I can't find the question again, but somebody asked, oh, here it is, King Irie. Since the IPO is off, how can Jamaicans invest? So sound like King Irie.
There you go. All right. So we actually will be doing a crowdfunding platform in a few weeks. So we're just, kind of finalizing all the aspects where that's concerned. So we will be doing a crowdfunding platform on a popular crowdfunding site in the US, so that ordinary people like, anyone at all who wants to be a part of our journey and invest in the growth of our company will be able to do so.
Okay. And finally, Iori wants to know, how long does the vetting process take and when can we start seeing cars in the app?
So usually I would say the vetting process would be around 3 to 7 days. However, because we're just starting out, it's just a little bit more hand-holding and, going through the steps and the insurance and all those aspects. So it's going to take a few weeks just to get everyone situated, let everyone understand how it's going to work. So I'm doing a lot of hand-holding right now. And ideally, we would want to start with at least 25 to 50 cars on the platform, right? Our waitlist has over 100 cars, but not everyone has all the necessary details right now. So we're just kind of going through that hand-holding steps with them. But after that, I would say around 3 to 7 days will be our usual turnaround time frame.
So definitely let us know. Definitely let us know when you open up for the crowdfunding round, because there are people who are interested, who want to give you their money right now. Zanice wants to know, are left-hand cars accepted?
Yes, left-hand cars will be accepted. Also in the listing process, you'll be able to just, toggle between which one you have, left or right.
Okay, and Moans wants to know which market is up next, because you did say Caribbean. So after Jamaica, what's the next stop for Veekle?
Right. So lucky enough for us, we partnered with an insurance company that's already operating in 8 additional islands. And so we've already gotten the green light for those islands. So it's really a matter of working out the kinks in Jamaica first and then branching out to these islands. So I'd say Trinidad is definitely on the list and there are a few others.
Well, we look forward to it, absolutely. And I'm very curious to see what happens when you launch, because you did say that you're targeting travelers, But I feel like you're going to get a substantial number of local users as well. Somebody who just wants to rent a car for a day.
Yeah.
You might be
Yeah.
a business owner, you have a lot of errands to run today, and you need an extra vehicle on hand. And it would come in so handy. I can think of reasons to rent a vehicle for the day.
I think so. I really do think so as well. Even
Well,
though we won't spend a lot of funds trying to get locals to come on board, we'll be spending it for people who are traveling back to the islands, because we're the ones who can't find the cars when we come to Jamaica, right? So that's our target market. But absolutely, I think locals will definitely take up this platform.
So you live in Jamaica now, or you live abroad?
Well, you always see me here, right? I would say I'm here mostly. Probably 3 weeks out of every month.
Well, definitely keep us updated, Cherie. We're looking forward to it, and congratulations on your launch. Let us know when the app is live, so we can announce it to our viewers when they can go on Veekle and rent a car. Let us know when you start your crowdfunding initiative. How much money do you need, by the way, just in case somebody's listening right now and they want to give you all the money up front?
That would be awesome. You never know, right? So we're raising $350,000 US, and hopefully that will help us to onboard about 20,000 users, reach about 14,000 bookings within 18 months.
Awesome. I love that you know your numbers so well. Congratulations, Cherie.
Thank you
US
so much.
dollars, she said, Shells. US dollars.
US dollars, yes, not Jamaican dollars. And one more thing, guys. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Facebook, X, Just Veekle, JUSTVEEKLE. And if you're on LinkedIn, Veekle.
And you said that at the end you had a pitch, or did you do it already?
Oh, that was it, the crowdfunding.
Okay, good. The crowdfunding. All right,
Yes.
awesome. Well, thanks again, Cherie. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, Kalila. Have a great night.
You too. Have a wonderful evening. So it's time now for our poll question. Ooh, I feel like we should have changed this one to the new question. Well, the ban that just happened. I am gonna go out on a limb here and change the question. So production team, take note. We are changing the poll question, which means that, well, I guess you guys can type fast. So new poll question for this evening. Do you support the ban on ride-sharing apps? How do you feel about the ban on ride-sharing apps that Minister Vaz announced today? Uber, InDrive, and all these ride-sharing apps are going to be banned for at least an initial period of 1 year. How do you feel about that? And I'm coming up with these options now. I say option A, yes, I support it because they're reckless, whatever. Option B, no, this is foolishness. We need ride sharing. We need the innovation. Option C, I don't know, not sure what to think. Or D, other, just leave a comment. Let us know what you think. So how do you feel about the ban that was just announced on or by Transport Minister Daryl Vaz on ride-sharing apps? So Uber is now banned. 876 on the go is banned. InDrive is banned. All of these ride-sharing apps are now banned for at least 1 year. Do you support it? How do you feel about that? Let us know. We're going to be putting that question on Twitter, on the community tab of our YouTube channel, and you can leave a comment here on YouTube as well. Let us know, how do you feel about that ban that was just implemented? Now, have you signed up for the Money Mission community yet? If not, here is a clip of what you're missing. Customers and your operations are in Jamaica. It makes sense to register your company in Jamaica. It's a Jamaican company. The purpose of having a US company would be to be able to work with payment processors. So like if you want a Stripe account, if you want a US bank account, if you want to use PayPal, and because there are difficulties in getting paid through PayPal, you can have the PayPal and it's collecting money on your behalf, but then there's PayPal might not remit to a Jamaican bank.
No,
And
they
so
don't.
The challenge is in getting the money out of the PayPal.
Yes.
You need a US bank account to do that. in order to have a US. So the way to get a US bank account is by registering a US business. So that's the reason I would say most people or companies here would register a US business. So that was a clip from Money Mentorship. We had Money Mentorship last night, which is the first Monday of every month. So the next one will come up on July. I think it's the 1st of July is the next Money Mentorship. All you got to do to sign up is go to Money Mission JA, become a basic or premium member, and you get access to that group coaching call that we do every month for Money Mentorship. All right, so guys, remember to hit that like button. Up next, we've got got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
The JC Combined Index was flat for the month of May. 129 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the month. 52 made gains, 65 lost value, and 12 stayed the same. 861 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $3.7 billion. Now here's a look at some of the highlights for May. It was a slow month for the JSE, with little movement on most of the indices. However, the main market and financial and manufacturing and distribution index were slightly up, while the junior market dipped. Fosrich was May's most traded stock. It took up 32% of market volume, with 284 million shares changing hands. The stock's price remained unchanged to open June at $2.30. Trans-Jamaican was the month's second most traded stock. The stock gained 6 cents to open the new month at $3.21. And Wigton rounded out May's most traded. The stock lost 8 cents to start the month at $1.02. Now let's see who are the biggest gains for the month. JP's 5% preference shares, Class D, was up 74% to open June at 82 cents. Berger Paints had the second biggest jump of the month, closing at $8.50. And Caribbean Assurance Brokers was May's third biggest gainer. The stock was up 56% starting June at $3.44. On the losing side now, CAC 2000 was last month's biggest loser. It lost 26% to open the new month at $3.33. ISP Finance lost $6.49 to open June at $24.01. And MFS Capital Partners was down 20%, starting the new month at $1.08. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index lost 45 points or almost 4% last month. NCBFG was the most traded stock of the month. It lost 20 cents to open June at $2.70 TT. Unilever Caribbean was the biggest gainer, up 7%. And on the losing side, Angostura Holdings fell 25% to open June at $17.02 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones was mostly flat in May, while the S&P 500 was up 3% and the Nasdaq was up 4%. It was a mixed bag for motorists at the pumps last month, as the cost of 87 gas fell at $3.54 in May, while 90 was down by $2.85. On the other hand, the cost of regular diesel rose 6 cents, while low sulfur diesel lost $3.08. In foreign exchange, overall the Jamaican dollar gained $1.37 against the US dollar in May, closing the month at an average $155.82 to 1 US. The JMD also strengthened against the Canadian dollar. On the other hand, the JMD weakened against the pound and euro, with the pound losing $4.33 and the euro losing $2.60. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices rose 11% over the last 30 days, trading at $70,000 US on Monday, while Ethereum was up 23%, trading at $3,830 US on Monday.
Are you ready to step up social media marketing for your business? Get ready for the Summer Social Splash. Be one of the first 10 companies to sign up and get 60% off our influencer promotion package featuring yours truly. I'll come to your business and highlight your product or service to over 300,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, but only 10 spots are available and it's first come, first serve. So don't wait too long to book this special offer. It's 60% off for the summer. Contact business@moneymediaja.com or call 876 498-6490 today. Let's get this money.
Disclaimer. This is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Welcome back. Before I introduce our analysts for this evening, let me take some of your comments. We have some comments coming in from Instagram. Shout out to Sunny Bear 243 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and Stewie in Kingston. Also from Instagram, IG from Jamaica, responding to the ban. He says, or she says, the ban is a knee-jerk reaction and a retrograde step. So guys, we are streaming live on Instagram as well, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I see a lot of comments coming in about the ban. Raquel says, yes, they should ban it. Jovan says, no, I think the ban wasn't considered properly. Shells wants to know, what was the ban supposed to accomplish? Natoya says, not sure. ISO says, no. RR says, makes sense. Vibe says, no ban. Ever says A is the answer. So yes, they should ban it. So a lot of mixed reviews here from you viewers. RR says the risk is too high. Christopher says ban it. Safety and security first. ISO says even if I was supposed to support, then it should have been delayed. Raquel says person's been kidnapped and hurt because of improper monitoring. Roswell says I'm looking at the future. I summarize that most traditional industries will fade or slow down as innovation will fade or slow down as innovation and all-inclusive thinking will change things. Transport Authority and their road rules is okay for now. Minister is helping you until 20 years in the future. Things change. I saw a comment as well. Somebody was asking, does that mean, or does that new law affect regular taxis like on time? Those that have been around for decades? I don't think so, because he specifically listed ride sharing. And so I don't think so. I don't think. Vibe says they can't ban Uber and InDrive. And then D. Pierre commenting on the ticketing issue says tickets are not on the vehicle, it's on your driver's license. You're right about that. So then if you have a foreign license, because they are targeting foreigners, how does that work? How do you issue the ticket on a foreigner? The foreigner leaves the country, don't pay the ticket. How does that work? I'm not sure. And then Shell says, I'm sure people would want to receive USD if they are renting to visitors. Good point as well. Get paid out in USD. Did she say that you'd be paid in JMD or USD? I don't recall her mentioning which one. Anyway, it's time now to introduce our analyst panel for this evening. Tonight we have a brand new analyst with us. His name is Michael Mortley, who is the economic and financial analyst in the office of the CEO at NCB. Long title, fancy title, along with our regular analyst, David Rose, business writer at the Jamaica Observer. Hi, guys.
Hi, good night, Kalila.
Night, Kalila.
Good night, viewers.
And Nicole, welcome for the first time. Am I saying your name right?
Thank you, McCall, but
McCall.
Close enough.
Yeah. All right, good. Welcome.
Hi, David. Nice to see you again.
Night. Yeah, man.
Great to have a fresh face on the show. Tell us a bit about your background since you're the newbie this evening, Nicole.
My background, I am an economist by training, so bachelor's, master's, currently pursuing PhD in economics at the University of the West Indies. I've worked in the financial services industry for a little bit, did a stint at Mayberry Securities, and did a stint in government at the Office of the Prime Minister, the Planning Institute at Jamaica. And then I've been at NCB now for probably about 15, 16 months.
Yeah, you were one of the Jamaica House Fellows, right?
Yes, I was in the second cohort of the Jamaica House Fellows.
So bright spark. I love to have the bright sparks with us, especially on the analysts. So tonight you're going to lead us on part of the conversation, and it has to do with Jamaica's economic growth prospects. The PIOJ just had released their growth estimates last week. So, and you're also going to touch a bit on inflation. But first, give us the highlights on growth for Jamaica.
Can I share? Can I share
Yes,
screen?
of course.
This. Yep, in a second.
All right. So as you while you
There it
share that
is.
screen is coming up. All right. Yes, there it is.
All right. So just to, I guess, take it from the top. The light has gone. All right, right back. So in the PIOJ has reported 1.9% growth for the first quarter of this year. And they indicate that this growth is largely due to increasing external demand, high levels of business and consumer confidence, increased agricultural output, which we do know and we do acknowledge, as well as higher alumina production. The graph there shows us our annual growth rate from 2013 to 2023, and we're seeing pre-COVID we were at 1%. The COVID dip about almost 10%, and last year we settled at about 2.6%. So we're just about in that same positive range, and the projections are there as well. So anywhere between 2 and 3%. World Bank is projecting that. We are projecting somewhere along that line as well. So is the BOJ. In terms of the actual summary, in looking at the varying industries, you can break out the industries into the top performers and the worst performers. So our top performers have been mining and quarrying, which was up close to 25%, agriculture, which was close to 8%, electricity, water supply, and hotel and restaurants, or essentially tourism. The worst performers being construction and government services.
Interesting.
If I can actually jump into a discussion of those top and worst performers.
Absolutely.
But just before that, I wanted to show the economy makeup. So based on the sectors that both PIOJ and Statin track, this is how our Jamaican economy looks. So distribution is our largest sector. Wholesale, retail, trade, installation of machinery is the real name. And then we have government services, financial services, transport, manufacturing, and it goes all the way down to mining and quarrying based on the different sizes. So essentially, when those sectors grow, your economy is more likely to grow. So we've been seeing growth in mining. Mining was up. Mining has been up. Mining has been the best performing sector. And that's generally because alumina production is up. So the alumina production is the one that's coming from Jamalco and Windalco. Bauxite is what, whatever the new name is, but what Noranda used to be on the North Coast. But I believe that I think there are opportunities in our quarried sector, in our quarried materials. So your limestone, silica sand, gypsum materials that are used to make cement, as well as we have been seeing some increases in export in limestone. That port in Ocho Rios, the one that's right across from the cruise terminal, that one is generally the limestone port. I heard the minister this year talking about the potential for Alpart to reopen. So that's something that I think would be interesting moving along. And the sector, I put mixed value here because you saw that that it only represents about 2% of GDP, but in terms of export income, it represents about 23% of export income, which is something that's really interesting about this particular sector. Agriculture wasn't doing too well last year because the weather conditions affected crop yields, and because the weather conditions affected the crop yields, we actually saw that moving through to food prices. And you did say we're going to talk about inflation a little later, so you kind of see that because we had increased food prices last year, we really had heightened inflation last year.
I feel like there's never an ideal year for agriculture. Either not enough rain or it's too much rain.
So that's why my third suggestion there is that I think in terms of moving forward, we need to start looking at climate adaptive technologies. And so your hydroponics, your drip irrigation, and so on. So things that can be more adaptive to either extreme heat or drought, as well as when you do have the one or two instances of flooding. Coming down. Electricity and water supply. I know everybody must know it has been hot. So it's no surprise that residential power is causing electricity and water supply levels to go up. And this is really on the side of what JPS and NWC as well as independent power producers. It's really their activity that's tracked in this sector. We see some easing drought conditions from Western Jamaica. But what I think here, and I think this is something that I think will come out in the third quarter, is that if we can recall when the Prime Minister announced the new solar energy loans from NHT coming in July, I think that if there is that uptick or take up in those loans, I think we should see some increased activity in the sector in the third quarter. And if we're seeing that activity, then we could get to a state of net billing where larger producers might be able to sell back to the grid. I only have maybe about one or two more. Hotels and restaurants. That's tourist sector. Last year we got about 4.18 million visitors. It's now one of the record years. And on our side, we track tourism in a way that's looking at the implied demand, the actual demand, and the spending. So not giving away any of our secret sauce now, but the US travel demand, we see that is increasing, which bodes well for Jamaica because the US represents 70% of our tourism market, as well as we similar to the tourism ministry, do think that they might get close to their 5x5 strategy, which is 5 million visitors by 2025, spending about $5 billion. And I think we can segue after this. The construction sector is the worst performing
sector. This one was a surprise. I didn't know that construction was down. What's going on there?
So construction down 4.5%. And the reasons given is that there are fewer NHT housing starts. That was the reason highlighted from PIOJ, as well as declining construction input sales, particularly from those of hardware. So hardware stores selling lumber, ply, and so on, as well as glass installation. And what I can see from my side is that we do have a higher interest rate environment in terms of financing. So real estate, so we would see sort of a slowdown in real estate construction as financing becomes much more expensive on both the developer side as well as on the buyer side, where we have seen an increase in real mortgage rates. Yes, I think
that makes sense. All right. It makes sense.
It makes sense. Good. And just one more slide. This is the inflation slide now. The inflation I'm suggesting here is nearing its midpoint target. So you always hear the Bank of Jamaica talking about a target inflation of 4 to 6%, but they're really targeting
5%, right?
They're really targeting the 5%, which is right in the middle. And we're seeing that the April figure was 5.3%, which is very, very close. We're waiting to see what the May figure is, and we'll see whether or not the Bank of Jamaica begins to make any moves. And we had Governor Biles on, I think it was last week.
Last week, yeah.
And that was quite an interesting discussion.
Sure what? He actually had some choice words for your institution. I don't think he called you by name, but we know who he meant because he said the top two banks, NCB is the top. So in terms of volume. So let's play that clip from Governor Biles, and I want you to respond.
In Jamaica, we have 11 commercial banks and merchant banks, but two of them in particular have about 60% of the deposits that are in the banks, especially savings deposits. And that means that two of them really set the rate for the rest of the industry. And to the extent that those rates are the cheapest form of funding that the banks have, they are not likely to want to raise those rates if they don't have to. But we would like to see them raise rates that they pay depositors and raise rates that they charge on loans. And what that does is slows the economy down, squeezes out inflation. And once we get inflation out, then we can lower interest rates again and get the economy to grow at a faster pace once again. But because they have such a large portion of the cheap deposit funding, they set the pace. And the way in which they have handled it in the last 2.5 years is that they have barely moved the savings rates and they have barely moved the lending rates. And that has had a negative effect on our monetary transmission system. And that has had a negative effect on.
So I'm going to say that I'm going to respond firstly in my technical capacity as an economist, but also adding in the color from my employer. So the governor mentioned that we are sitting on a pile of cheap deposits. While there is merit to that, there is a big part of the deposits are actually current accounts. And if you think about it, if you think about that current account activity, your salary is going to come in. You are going to take out your mortgage, take out your motor vehicle, take out your credit card, take out all the other expenses. And at the end of the month, there isn't that much left to add interest to. Now, if there isn't that much to add interest to, then there isn't that much from that type of account to actually lend to. So that's one side of it. So a lot of the accounts that we have are actually current accounts, which are also very high transactional accounts, which means that we have to maintain quite a bit of cash in order to ensure that those accounts are adequately funded. So that's one side of it. The other side of it, mentioning the movement of the actual movement of the rates. Now, if we look on the data that the BOJ actually has, BOJ started their rate adjustments in September 2021, and up until this point, the actual deposit rate, which I think is the rate where people are, where the BOJ is actually more invested in us moving, that rate overall for the industry, there are three types of deposit rates: so time deposits, demand deposits, savings deposits. And just from the data pull between September 2021 to April 2024, the time deposits increased by 140%, and those go in line with the BOJ rate. So the time deposit average rate is about 6.2%, which is short, which is a little short of the.
What is that time deposit?
So the time deposits are period-based deposits. So you can have 30 days, so you can have 1 month, 3 month, 9 month, 12 month call deposits. So those are
deposits.
Yes, essentially. So okay. Those rates actually moved as fast as the policy interest rate. So I don't think anybody has a problem with those rates. The issue is the demand and the savings deposits, and I think I mentioned that based on the type of accounts that we have, the money doesn't necessarily stay in there for the vast majority of our customers. But those rates, so like demand deposits, move from 0.69% to 1.37%. That's almost double. That's a 98% movement. And the savings deposits, which I think most people are interested in, so that's your regular savings account, that actually moved by 156%. So it moved from 40.41% in September 2021 to 1.05% currently, which is 156%.
Yay,
So,
1% interest.
So, yeah. It's
1.05, sorry. Let me not leave off the 0.05.
Okay. I will concur. They might seem low, but we have to remember where rates are coming from. Rates are coming from 0.5%. The BOJ policy interest rate used to be 0.5%. When I started the industry in 2016, it was 5%. And in 2019, it went down to 0.5%. Between September 2021 and November 2022, the rate moved up by 650 basis points, or between 0.5% and 7%, and has been there since. So the BOJ has its latitude to move its policy interest rate, but on our side, we also have to look at some of the other factors.
But you guys are charging minimum 8% on loans, 8-9% on loans, and you're giving us 1%. That's a pretty big spread in your favor.
Let me add another bit of color to that argument in terms of the 8%. So if, for example,
you're lucky if you get 8%. I'll probably say 8.5 at minimum.
So if we have to go to the Bank of Jamaica window to borrow money to lend, so if you follow my drift, liquidity is low in the market. We know that because BOJ raised rates, liquidity has been dried up. We from time to time have to go to the BOJ window to borrow money. We're borrowing money at 10% because the standing liquidity finance facility of BOJ is at 10%. So they might give us 7% on our current account, but when we go to the window, we're borrowing at 10%. So if you look on the difference from the 10, where we're actually getting the bulk of money to unlend, then it's now from 10, you might go to 20 for personal unsecured loans, but for your secured facilities, we're anywhere between 11 and about 13%, which is where mortgage rates are, auto loans are, and so on, which is just about 2 to 3% between that rate that we would borrow money from BOJ from.
So that justifies that wide spread.
What I'm saying is, if you look on it, it's actually not that wide. It's actually not that wide.
So you're using the spread between what you borrow from BOJ at and what you on-lend at. But I'm talking about the difference between what you pay to depositors and what you lend at. So if I lend you my money, if I'm a depositor, I'm essentially lending you my money.
Essentially, if you're saying that, all right, we're getting, so I think the better part of we'd move to, if we're getting 7% on the current account from BOJ and the rates are at about 1%, what is the reason for that spread between the 1 and the 7? That's the bigger spread, for example. Remember, it is quite an expensive industry. And I say that in the sense that we're called out in terms of competition. Based on the market structure or based on the market conditions, the banking sector is more than likely going to be oligopoly with a few large players. In 2016, it was 6 commercial banks. 2017, it moved up to 8. And it was 6 because of movements over time, consolidations, and so on. So you have that to contend with. You also have to contend with the higher barriers to entry, the actual cost of getting that banking license, as well as the enhanced regulations with it. We do pay the highest taxes. We pay 33.5% we 33.33% tax on our profits, and would also pay the asset tax, which we gave back to the government of Jamaica right in the beginning of COVID. So it does cost us quite a bit to actually provide the services. I can give you from the NCB point of view. We have 27 branches. We do have 300 ABMs. We have the most ABMs in the system. We also have the most point of sales in the system. So in order to keep that system flowing, it does cost quite a bit. I think you would have seen over the last, few months with the chairman talking about our EGC push, and one of those things that we're trying to get.
Oh, by the way, congratulations on the APO closing. Happy to hear that.
Thank you. APO closed recently, and we're still crunching numbers, so you'll see a release soon enough in terms of the performance.
Nicole, I'm not going to pressure you any further on the inflation, on the spreads issue, and what banks charge. I know you're not the boss, you're not in charge.
I am not.
Kamoy said we need McCall to keep his work. So.
Please.
So in the words of Richard Biles, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let me introduce David to the panel. David, good evening. Welcome back.
Thanks again, Kalila. Glad to be back.
So today we are looking at Carib Cement. Carib Cement has reintroduced dividends, or they've restarted their dividend program. Give us the update on Carib.
So for context, it's relating to the whole Cemex group, basically, Kalila, not just to Carib Cement alone. So just to give some context, Cemex is the ultimate parent company at the top. That company is listed on the New York Stock Exchange and on the Mexican Stock Exchange. Then you have Trinidad Cement Limited, which is also owned majority by Cemex. And then TCL has majority shares in Carib Cement. So 3 companies: Cemex, Trinidad Cement, then Carib Cement. Carib Cement restarted its dividend payments back in 2022, 17 years post its last dividend payment. They paid $1.5 billion back in 2021. 2022, and in 2023 they paid about $1.9 billion. So that's to kind of show you that it's a significant step up, because in 2005 they paid 7 cents, which is about $55 million. So $55 million then to be paying now 1.9 billion J. Big step up, right? Then last week, Monday, Trinidad Cement Limited, which owns 74.08% of Carib Cement here in Jamaica, they announced their first dividend payment in over what, 7 years? Because the last payment was back in 2017, and that was 2 cents. Trinidad Cement has announced an 8-cent dividend to be confirmed and approved at its AGM either this month or next month. And then, this announcement was preceded by Cemex, the ultimate parent company, announced that it has actually restarted its own dividend program, and it's planning to pay out $120 million over the next 4 quarters, and payments start this month. Cemex would have last paid its own dividend to its own shareholders back in 2019. So I'm mentioning all of these facts to kind of show you that coming down the list of companies, you realize that shareholders were not getting any dividends over this period of time. It's really been what you'd call, I should say, tough luck, or just bitter medicine. But Carib Cement, we're here after 17 years. They're meeting this week to recommend a dividend to be confirmed at the AGM later this year to pay to shareholders. That's likely to be very large, because right now Carib Cement is actually, for one, debt-free. Key point, they're debt-free right now. They are expanding their capacity by 30%, which is equivalent to about 27% of the country's national cement consumption. They're able to touch on Caicos, and they plan to export to other markets once the expansion is done. And you're still talking about the reality of having 12,000 hotel rooms being developed over the next, within 2024, 2026, alongside other elements of construction in domestic markets. with respect to Trinidad Cement Limited, the good thing for them is Carib Cement is performing. And the reason why I say it in such a way is that if you were to remove Carib Cement's performance out of Trinidad Cement Limited's numbers, go to the annual report, just go to the NCI, non-country interest area, look at how they did their calculation and actually pull out Carib Cement, the overall group goes into a loss automatically. So because Trinidad Cement owns majority interest in Carib Cement, they're having positive numbers. And because the Jamaica business, in this case, Carib Cement is paying dividends, Trinidad Cement can now pay dividends. And Trinidad Cement is owned by a CEMEX subsidiary, which means that money can flow out as well up to CEMEX. A CEMEX subsidiary owns 4.96% of Carib Cement directly. So overall, CEMEX, in a sense, owns about 79.04% of Carib Cement. So it's a lot of information to take in, but hope that makes some sense.
So it really was just a patience game for Carib Cement shareholders.
17 years, Khadila? That's an entire child. That's the best way to put it.
It really is. So what's the ex-dividend date for somebody to be able to benefit from the next Carib dividend?
It hasn't been announced as yet. So what Carib Cement does is that they follow the CEMEX model, which is the board will recommend a dividend, it will go to the shareholder meeting to be approved, and then it's paid out. So we're looking at probably around September/October for that dividend payment, probably earlier around August. So it's around this window between August to October when you're going to actually see that payment. What we don't know as yet is when that Carib Cement AGM is actually going to be held. So that's the big wild card in the room right now. But the British Trinidad Cement Limited shareholders would have to be on record as at August 13 to get dividend payment on September 9.
So you still have time to move if you want to benefit from that dividend. This is the time.
Basically,
now on early August.
And the thing is, Carib Cement, their first quarter results looked significantly improved over the prior year, but that was because in 2023 Q1 they had a general shutdown for maintenance, which is why the numbers look so much better. But even in 2023, when there was a relative slowdown in cement demand, they were still able to generate their highest level of revenue and profit to date, $27 billion worth of revenue and $5 billion worth of net profit, 20% net profit margin, which is still pretty good. And if you look at Carib Cement's books right now, they're seeing a whole lot of cash, at least $6 billion in cash. And they're just selling cement like, wow.
All right. So we look out for that. Thanks so much for that update, David.
You're welcome, Kalila. And beside my final 2 points, read the whole tax announcement earlier. It is a little bit short-sighted, and someone made that very highlight strong point of they skipped regulation and went straight to ban. The reality is Jamaica faces a current situation whereby we don't have enough JUTC, or what you'd call the transport operations. Well, specifically, the ones that provided by the government, and even though you have other licensed alternatives in the case of the passenger vehicles, like your little minibuses and taxis that carry particular routes, the Ubers and the alternative options, they do serve a market for persons who want, to work on their own time potentially. That's for the driver on their side, and for the passenger, they get to their destination without breaking bank. We saw the news on Monday, with respect to the teacher, condolences to her family, and it is a very unnecessary blanket ban to just basically throw out an entire industry over what one would call one rogue player in a sense. So the regulation is needed, but to just outright ban the industry is not going to solve the problem. It's only going to create additional issues because the persons who work in these spaces, that's less income for them because they might have to run in the risk now of operating outside of the remit of the law. And also persons who use these services to get around and get around on time, they're going to basically be fighting to haggle with the remaining operators or the older, more established operators to get a cab. So you're shrinking supply, but the demand is still there. Basic economics tell you is that the prices are going to go up, or you're going to have a situation of a shortage. So I hope that makes some level of sense. I'm sure Mika would have added a comment right here, but those are my 2 cents on the whole issue.
All right. Thanks so much, David. We appreciate it as usual. We'll take our final break and come back with your comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interests at heart.
I'm Kalila Reynolds, the Money General, and I'm on a mission to help you get better with money. Join me inside the Money Mission community where I'll teach you how to manage money, make more money, and annihilate bad debt. Click the link in the description to sign up for your basic or premium membership. Let's get this money. All right, final comments. Let me see what you guys are talking about in the chat. I never did big up Tavares, who's joining us all the way from Timbuktu. Is that the real Timbuktu, Tavares? I didn't know until probably like last year that Timbuktu is a real place. It's a real place, a real city in Africa, in Mali, ancient city. I used to always think people just say going to Timbuktu just means you're going somewhere really far, but it actually exists. So is that the real Timbuktu, Tavares, or are you just saying you're joining from somewhere far away? Shells says, police don't give visitors tickets. That's why I only drive on foreign license. Shells, it's a good thing you don't use your real name on this platform, or else you would be giving yourself away right now. The diplomat of the era says the ban is counterproductive as this ban will aid in driving, pivoting to regular taxi. I got a comment on WhatsApp as well, basically mirroring the foreign license thing. This person said, speaking as someone who had a foreign license, policemen would look at my license and hand it back and tell me to go on. Hey, all right, found a loophole. Kemoy said, Nicole did a great job. He knows his stuff. He absolutely did. You represented yourself and your employer very well this evening, Nicole. Thanks so much for being here for the first time. Then he said, Kalila, I had to ask though, this is why I love this show. And then Tavares was saying, bro, you guys charge POS fees regarding NCB. Shell's added POS fees have been around for decades. That's why you get credit cards and use the bank's money. If the card is stolen, it's the bank's money. Take risk with other people's money, not yours. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for all of your comments. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate the community that we have built and generated here on Taking Stock each and every week as we join you live every Tuesday. Thanks again to the founder and CEO of Veekle, Cherie Williams, and to our analyst this evening, Nicole Mortley, as well as David Rose. Guys, make sure you like the video, subscribe to this channel, and share with a friend. Also subscribe to our newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter. Also, important change. So since late last year, as you would remember, we changed the company name to Money Media. So we've just updated YouTube. So our YouTube handle is now youtube.com/@moneymedia.ja. And also we've updated, and the name of the channel as well, you'll notice the name has changed from Kalila Reynolds Media to Money Media. And then on podcasting platforms, we did the same. So for those who don't know, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora. There are quite a few, several major podcasting platforms we are available on. Usually by the next morning, you'd be able to find the Taking Stock episode there. But now when you search, you'll search for Money Media. You can also search for my name. We put it in there just so that for people who just search for Kalila Reynolds, makes it easy to find. But the platform name, the channel name has been changed to Money Media. So important update for you guys. Also turn on the post notifications so that you don't miss any updates when they occur. We want to help people learn more about money so we can all get this money together. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kalila Ray. Remember, that's my only account. I don't have any backup accounts. I do not use WhatsApp Business. I do not use Telegram. And I will never DM you asking you for money or to invest with me because I do not invest on behalf of other people. That is not my job. I am a journalist, so please report the scammers and the impersonators when you see them. If you want to connect with the analyst this week, check the description box below for their contact information. You can also visit KalilaReynolds.com for information however you like it. You can watch, you can listen, you can read, and FYI, that too will be moving to moneymediaja.com in the coming months. So we're going through a little transition period as we update everything. But for now, tell a friend about taking stock, because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Let's get this money.